Well, the thing about PHP is that PHP isn't written in PHP. PHP is written in C. So you actually need to know a completely different language to actually work with PHP. So I can't work towards adding to
Okay.
PHP, but I can add to things like Laravel or WordPress or other PHP-based projects, and with the open source community that's out there.
Okay, so at the end of the day, what all of this leads up to is the creation of products that really put human beings first.
So the end product of the project is for humans, but also being able to have developers as humans be able to write the stuff with PHP, to be able to easily understand how things work, to be able to have an idea of how to do something, and then be able to go, I want this feature's there, and then to be able to reach for it because it is there, and not have to like try and create some other Frankenstein's monster version of it. So I think both in as many senses as possible to make it more human.
So tell me, guys, what's new and interesting about PHP 8? You guys seem to be excited about it. Why is that?
The big thing about PHP 8 is that it brings a lot of new functionality to PHP, where before PHP was seen as the slow, ugly sister to every other language. Right now with PHP, since PHP 7 and up, the performance speeds have been going great, and it's been adding a lot of new functionality. So PHP 8 was released last year as a new major release, and PHP 8.1 was just released a couple of weeks ago. I think it was at the end of November. So with each one of those came performance increases, but also a lot of very helpful functionality that we can use now.
Okay, cool. So Wasim, can you tell me a little bit about what these new features enable you as a developer to do?
So some of the new features that we've been looking at that we feel like, so we haven't rolled out PHP 8 to all our new sites because we have to be like cognizant of possible like breaking changes and stuff. But some of the new features that we're excited about using when we start using PHP 8 are the new match feature, which is a match function. It's like they're saying it's like the big brother of the switch command. So that's like it makes it much better for comparison operators. This one that I think it's been a long time coming called string contains, str contains. It's basically saves us from having to do string positioning to check if a string is within a string. So now we have something. Now we actually have a function to do that.
Perfect. So tell me, Wesley, a little bit about the features that you'd like to highlight.
With PHP 8, besides the performance increases, the big thing that stood out for me is the null safe operator. So often when you're working with arrays, you sometimes need to look for a specific array that might be deeply nested, and sometimes that array doesn't exist. And often you'd have to then wrap it in an if statement and then check to make sure that it exists. With the null safe operator, we're now able to just check with and be able to go down the list without having to worry about if it's there or not, because then it'll just handle if it's not in there by returning null, and then it's easy to catch rather than having to add more verbose syntax. The other interesting feature is named parameters, where before you have to put all your parameters to a function in the exact order that is necessary. Now you can actually put like an array-like syntax where, or not array-like, but you can put the key is the name of the argument on the function side, and then you can then put it in any order because now you're putting it by the name section. So some functions might have a long amount of parameters, and then what we can then do is instead of going like empty, 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 and then the final parameter at that, you can just only put through the one parameter instead of having to put all the default ones in as well. So it's going to save a lot of time. Well, it's going to look much better and more to the point. There are some cost and speed, but I don't think it's anything that you'll ever notice.
Okay. So there are some of the benefits which I understand, and quite a few which I don't because I'm not a developer. So, so starting with Wasim, could you help me get an understanding of how these features will make you a better developer?
So I think all the features, the purpose of the features is just to speed up the way we do things. Like there's function once that PHP has built-in functions that we don't have to write those functions ourselves. So I mean, you can obviously search for these functions and you get libraries, but these are PHP supported ones, and it just speeds up our processes because we don't need to write these functions ourselves, or it's like improved functionality versus what we currently have and what we currently use.
So Wesley, the people that are meant to benefit from these products that we create, how will they benefit from what you can now do with PHP?
The thing with programming and coding is always at the end of the day, you're able to write something to get something done. But any real program or any type of project that you had, the longevity of that project is what really important. So the more that you can write readable code that you can understand in the future, the better your project will be. Because if you can't really understand your code, then you're going to be doing hacks or workarounds because you're trying to fix something that you don't remember. So with these new features, it allows us to be able to create or at least write code in a way that is easier to understand and easier to be able to grok as soon as you see it. So the idea with this is not only is it like what Wasim said, where you're not having to write your own functions now to do this, you can rely on the native PHP functions, which has documentation on it. You can also write less code altogether.
Yeah, I think like I even helped with that article that we wrote together about why PHP is not the worst. And I think there's with PHP like the new version and everything like that, it's just getting better. And but like it's one of the most used, if not the most used programming languages because of like frameworks like WordPress and Laravel. So yeah, I think it's just getting better, and that's something that that makes us happy as PHP developers.
The reason why we had these huge jumps forward from PHP 5.6 to 7 and then 7 up until now we're at 8.1 is that they had this one full-time developer working on PHP. He worked for a company called JetBrains who make IDEs. He's now actually leaving working on PHP to work on LLVM, which is a compiler. Now, so what's happened now, there's been a bit of a worry. There's definitely tons of people who work on PHP, but he's been one of the people because it's been his job to work on it because he was sponsored by his company JetBrains to do it, which has been fantastic. It's been a bit of a worry now, like are we still going to have the advancements that we've been having? So what's happened now is that JetBrains, as well as a few other people, have started a new foundation, the PHP Foundation, and this is a way to be able to get sponsorships to be able to get either full-time or part-time people to work on PHP as a language. So the exciting thing about that is that we will hopefully not actually be relying on one person to be able to be pushing things forward, but potentially multiple people, and also to be able to have a way to have something that's outside of something like JetBrains who's going to be pushing for certain things that help them out.
It sounds like there's also quite a community being built around PHP, which is fantastic.
Huge.
Wasim, do you plan on getting involved in the foundation, contributing?
Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, PHP has played a big part of my life. Like, I've been working with PHP for the last 15 years. So yeah, PHP has a big part of my life.